I am in fact fulfilling the purpose, right? The purpose of our partnership. And I mean, there's, a million different things to relationship and things we love about each other, but it's one of my favorite things. And it makes the little things that don't work worth working out, because I get to be used up in the way that I really want to be used up in relationship.
Hey, you. Thanks for tuning in. Just a quick heads up, this episode is rated R, so expect that there will be some language that you may not want your kids to hear, lots of adult topics, and quite possibly some explicit conversations about sex. This episode is probably not safe for work, though, I guess it depends on where you work.
Hello, Radiant Rebecca.
Hey there, Sean.
I'm so excited to talk to you about this and to help with the introduction of this next episode.
I'm so excited to have you here, too.
This is a cool one, I think, because it's about finding the have-to-haves, or each of our individual have-to-haves in a partner, what we desire in a partner. However, the episode doesn't really outline how to find the have-to-haves so much as talk about the importance of it and then point to the direction of it.
I think I'm with you.
And you brought on a lovely woman, Wendy. People can find her at wendyspeaks.com. And a lot of the information that you discuss and talk about in here, she goes into more detail there, as well as the worksheets that she provides, which I have recently filled out.
That's right. You sent me your worksheet. I was so excited to look through it.
It was a fun exercise. It was fun to, let's talk about that. So in filling out these worksheets, I know what I think is important about it. What do you think is important about finding the have-to-haves for our partner?
Well, I think what's important about finding the have-to-haves is that they are have-to-haves. These are things that you actually need from a partner in order to have the kind of partnership that you're hoping for. And there's a lot of things that you might put on a wish list for a partner if you're the kind of person that makes lists. I'm not really the kind of person that makes lists about people, because that seems a bit degrading. But I am the kind of person that knows I need to know what matters most to me before I'm in a situation where I need to make a decision about what to do about that. So I find that for me, it's really important to sit down and think critically and think clearly about what actually matters and what kinds of things might be deal breakers with a new partner, so that I can not just recognize those deal breakers when I see them, but I can also actively look at, what might the opposite of that be, or what might be a more supportive experience for me to have in a relationship, and then how can I actively seek that out? And that's part of how I ended up as a polyamorous woman. So
you speak to that inside the as you and Wendy have this conversation too. I loved that, to your point about the list making. I love that the worksheet was more geared towards qualities rather than she has to have brown hair and medium
size 32 tits,
medium length fingernails, and yes, all of that stuff. Like, all of that is superficial and important to some extent. There, physical attraction is of course important, and the worksheets tend to, in my experience, make you dive deeper and go into what is the thing that's going to keep you in the relationship if that's important to you.
Yeah. And, I think one of our common teachers, Kelly LaRue, she talks about, I don't remember the word she uses for it, but when you get like 1,000 points or 10,000 points for something instead of just 1 point.
She was talking 1 point versus 1,000 points. Like, this is your 1,000 point thing, your word, your 1,000 point word. Like, this is the one thing that, you'll die without. This is the deal breaker. This is how you will find fulfillment or possibly not in a relationship.
And why not if you don't, I think.
At
least I hope.
Great. Sure.
If you're clear and honest with yourself.
Sure.
But, I mean, though, we grow and change, so this might be something to be redone as we shift into new relationships every time.
That's one of the things that I thought was an important piece of what I'm looking for. I think that I have friends that have not grown and changed in a long time and are very happy in their space. And that's a space that I wouldn't be happy in. And, I would have an expectation that my partner would be growing and changing, and I would be growing and changing, and that we would have this mutual respect and love for each other that would allow for that inside of the relationship. And
that's why those people that are friends are just friends.
Could be.
Because they don't fit your your needs.
Well, and the fact that the other one is a 40-year-old man with a purple mohawk, a friend of mine. So
there's that too. All right. They don't have the right apparatus in their genital areas.
Sure,
that matters.
He's a very, very sweet man. Very sweet man.
Nice.
One of the earlier episodes that we've just completed, I said, I love clarity. And you're like, ooh, I do too. And that's what I really like about doing this work. Because pre-production, you and I were having a conversation, and you said something to the effect of, if we aren't really clear using something like this about what we want in a relationship, then the next shiny thing that comes up catches our eye, and we think we want it until we realize we don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think that if you don't know what you want in a relationship, it makes it easy for anything that looks shiny to feel like the right thing. But if you do know what you need, not just what you want, but what you actually need, what you need to be a thriving, happy person, then you have a much better chance of finding it. And I think also that this is one of the kindest things that you can do for your partners is to get clear about what really matters to you, and clear about what you need, and be able to communicate them. But first, you've got to be clear about them. You got to be clear, and you got to be honest. So, yeah.
My purple mohawked buddy, who's about 8 years younger than I am, always says, when you get to be my age. And you're talking about kindness, like when you get to be my age, time is of the essence. You know, it's and wasting time is not kind. And so I love what you're saying there, that's one of the kindest things you can do for your partner and for yourself, is to have real clarity about what you want.
Yeah, especially if you're the kind of person that wants to build something. I know you and I both have different versions of wanting to build things with our partners, and that matters. You know, the time that you put into building something matters. The time that you put into building something that is inevitably going to fail because you didn't pay attention to what mattered at the beginning, that also matters. It can be good learning time, but it is still time that may have been spent better differently.
Indeed. I've done plenty of learning. I'm ready for the real thing now. And in fact, to your point, Edie, you and Wendy even touch on polyamory and monogamy.
Yeah, and I want to put out a little disclaimer here in case this particular episode, because both Wendy and I are polyamorous, in case this episode sounds preachy or like polyamory is the right way to go, or you should be poly in order to be an evolved person. Neither one of us think that way or believe that. Personally, I think polyamory and monogamy are more choices, and you should choose what's right for you. You should choose what's right for you in the time that you're at and the people that you're with, and that's up to you. I chose polyamory myself knowing, years ago, probably 20 years ago now, knowing that it would be a difficult, challenging road to facing a lot of insecurities. But I went into it willingly and eagerly. You know, like some people go to the Army because they want the benefits of boot camp. I decided, I'm going to be poly and live poly because I want to know what it feels like to be confident enough to be cool with that and to reassess what I've been taught about relationships and love and partnership my entire life and find new meanings for myself. And that is not something I encourage people to take on without thinking about it, without knowing that there's a lot of work to do if they're going to go down that journey. But there's a lot of work to do in any partnership that you want to have. So just in case it sounds like we are too pro polyamory in this episode, I promise we are not. We just happen to believe that relationships should be consensual and ethical and kind and awesome. And for us, that happens to mean poly.
I'm confident that that's what you mean based on, just everything that I know about you. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about you is that I am monogamous. In fact, in filling out that worksheet, I was like, oh, yeah, that's actually what I really want. And when we were talking earlier today, I was like, maybe you said earlier that it takes a certain amount of confidence to be polyamorous. And so there's part of me that goes, well, does that mean that I'm not confident? Should I be working on my confidence? Is that something that needs to be adjusted? And my answer to that is maybe, maybe not, and not right now. That's just not what, I feel like I'm confident enough and happy with who I am. And because I'm happy with who I am, then I'm good. So that's my, I love that. I do love about you, and I'm sure Wendy as well, that both of you subscribe that it is a choice and it is personal for everybody.
Yeah. And it's not about how evolved you are. You don't necessarily get more confident by being poly. In fact, I find a lot of times it's the other way around.
Sure.
So really applaud you for listening to the wisdom of, no, this is what I want.
Sure. Well, let's get going. I'm excited to listen to this again. Now, before we get started, I want everybody to know that you have an epilogue at the end of this episode, which I think ties the whole episode together and really brings it all home. So please do not miss that as you're listening to this episode. Please don't miss that at the very end.
And it's not very long.
And it's not very long. And it's awesome. And it's awesome, awesome. Ready?
Ready.
All right, let's get to it.
Let's go find our have-to-haves for our new partners.
Love it.
Think about the relationships in your life. What has made them great and what has made them awful? What was it about that person that gave you so much joy? Or what was it about those relationships that brought you down? Each time we invite someone into our lives, they become a part of our journey to true happiness. So it's important for you to be a little selfish in your relationships. For some of us, that's hard. I know I've not been selfish enough in the past myself. But today we're going to take a little test to see what our partners actually have to have. A few episodes ago, I talked about the Partner Have to Haves digital workshop that Wendy Newman, a frequent guest on the show, has created. In this episode, I'll be sharing my worksheet answers, and maybe you'll be inspired to answer some of these questions for yourself. You know me. I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to be open about my answers. As we go through this, really think about each question and how you would answer each one of them. We're on this journey to true happiness, satisfaction, and deep pleasure together.
Hi, Wendy. Welcome back to Pleasure Central Radio.
Thank you so much for having me back. I can't wait to be with you, Rebecca.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about was the partner have-to-haves that you had done. You created a digital workshop, I think is how I would describe it. And I went through it myself, and I haven't finished the visioning exercise entirely, but I've done a lot of the exercises. And so I wanted to talk with you about some of those and get your thoughts and feedback and input, and just kind of create this space so that those that are listening have the opportunity to do the same kind of thing for themselves and hopefully are inspired and uplifted by this. First of all, I did send you the partner have-to-haves and you had a couple of little comments. Was there anything that you wanted to say about what I had written or about the digital workshop in general, what you've been finding people are getting out of it?
Yeah, so I've actually only had the opportunity to see one person who's done their whole page, their whole bunch of pages, which was you. And it was very affirming to me because the whole process is all about, looking under every rock to see what you need, what you desire, who you are, what's compatible, all the things, right? What's going to conflict with you, what's going to conflict with one item might conflict with another item you think you need or want or desire. So I really, as I built this, thought about it from a place of look under every rock. But as I read through what you created, I was just super present to seeing you, seeing who you are. And it reflected perfectly everything that I know about you. So I didn't expect the delight of the outcome. And I don't know if one person is working on this thing for themselves, that they're going to see their own delight in the outcome of seeing themselves because they already know who they are, right? But I just love seeing how much in alignment who you are is with what it is you're looking for. So for me, it was the outcome that made it special.
That's really helpful to hear because me going through it personally, I've looked at it and it feels so freaking obvious. It feels like everything I've been thinking about and talking about doing for years. And so, yeah, it didn't feel like delight. But when you reflected it back and said, hey, everything that I know about you is in this thing, it's all encapsulated in this piece of paper, in this small worksheet, that is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that someone that knows me that well can recognize me from a piece of paper.
I mean, you could literally put yours and 30 people that I know, love, and respect in a stack and then don't put names on them and then tell me to name the 30 people. I could probably do it. And it's not that I'm this remarkable person who knows my people. It's just that, who we are shines, and we all need drastically different things in our lives. These lists are not going to look the same.
And when we can be honest about what we need in our lives, that's really cool. I think for
Yeah.
me, that was the hardest part, because there was a large fear, and there still is, maybe why I haven't quite finished it, of what I'm going to discover and how incompatible it's going to be with what I thought I wanted and with the people that I've been spending time with.
Well, and it might give you really good information about the people you're spending time with. It'll show you the gap of what's missing, right? So you might actually do this exercise. This is for you, Rebecca, and for anyone who's listening. You could be spending time with people and not either think it's fine or not knowing what it is about this quality time you have together that isn't quite right. Right. And then you do the exercises, you discover what it is you need, one desire, what's going to really work well for you. And then after doing that work, you can see the gap and you can make requests. You can make new requests to see if they can step into who you need them to be, or if who they are isn't at all that, then you're going to have to get that need, want, or desire met from someone else. And then you get to decide how you're going to be in relationship with the person that you're hanging out with.
Yeah, so for me, the holy grail in my relationships is someone that can take me home to their family, someone that we can have holidays with and I can be just myself with. I don't have to hide anything about who I am.
Yeah.
And so that piece, I still don't have anybody that can do that. And being poly, I'm sitting here thinking, well, I don't have to get this from every single person that I date. I need it from somebody that I date, but I don't have to have it from everybody.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, yeah, that's 100% true. And part of me is like, yeah, but you can't be yourself with somebody that you're dating, really. How successful is that going to be? Just like a really lovely, intimate friendship. And I say that knowing that I've had some really lovely, intimate partners over the years that haven't been able to take me home to their partner, and it's been totally fine. But now maybe my needs are different enough that it's not totally fine. And I haven't figured out how to suss that out. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, I think we all deserve at least one person that we can, be with our family. And I think we all deserve that, whether it's with multiple partners or all the partners. I would take that case by case. And I also think that that's not something that is, I guess that's something that you shouldn't try and expect from a new partner because you don't know them well enough yet. Like, even if you were monogamous, to expect to take them home for Christmas, and when you met them in August, right? Might be too soon. So I think that it isn't will you, won't you? But I think the real question is would you ever and when? Right? Or do you think this is a possibility for us or for you? And by when? And I have a lot of feelings about this. It's all jumbled up in one big ball, one big polyamorous ball of one, being seen and known by your people, being able to be authentically you, right, is one piece of it. And then the other piece is feeling respected and seen by everyone, legitimizing the relationships that we have. And I joked with Dave when we got together, stamped my feet and pumped my fist and said, I don't want to be the poly poster girl. Whatever you do. I've been in the relationship field. At that time, I'd been in the relationship field for 12, 13 years, and I didn't want to change course, something that my entire client base was not, right? And I know many experts, they They don't need Wendy Newman as an expert. There's plenty of experts. Everyone who's poly is an expert. So they didn't need another one. And so I didn't want to go down that path, even though I don't want to be the poly poster girl and in a public speaking space all the time. I still think it's incredibly important for every single one of us to be out if we can, to be out in front saying, look, these relationships are amazing and they work. Some of these relationships have zero drama and they work great. And we're not breaking up. And the reason we're not breaking up is because we're poly. You know, we hear so many, oh, we broke up because we're poly and it didn't work. We never hear we broke up because we're monogamous and it didn't work. I mean, that's a thing, right? So part of the passion I have around this bundled topic is, can you go home with someone and be with them at Christmas? And are you willing to be yourself and show the world that isn't like you, that this is fine. You're fine and they're fine. The relationship is legitimate and it's all good. I got rambly there.
I didn't mind it.
Okay.
Yeah, I always get a lot of delicious food for thought in our conversations. Thank you.
I remember I went to an event and there were a lot of poly people at this event. And it's a storytelling event in San Francisco, and it was a sexy one. So there's like lots of sexy people there. And my partner Dave came, his partner Kim came, and my metamor.
Hey, Katerina here. I'm quickly going to explain what metamor means. A metamor is a person who's in an intimate, romantic, or sexual relationship with an intimate partner of yours. Someone you are connected to through someone you are romantically involved with, but who you are not romantically involved with yourself.
And it was the breaking point where she came up to me afterwards and said, you know, if I'm not able to be out in public with you, please don't invite me to anything anymore. And it didn't even occur to me to say, stay closeted or it's fine to not be closeted. I just didn't really think about it. What I did say is a couple of my clients are coming tonight, so there'll be crossover. And it was a really great learning moment for me to see the hurt in her eyes and realize like, this is a person. Like, I'm not going to put people in the closet. And so not everyone in our polycule can be out. One of my metamors is in academia and it just doesn't work for her work to be out. But for the most part, if it's not going to harm anyone or cause us to lose significant money, I kind of demand it. Now, how happy my mother is going to be when we all show up to Christmas is a different matter.
Yeah, for sure.
But she knows, so what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, thanks for sharing that story about your metamor. I'm assuming that you've adjusted how you warn other people in your polycule showing up to your events.
Well, I mean, at this point, like I said, was so moved by that moment. I said, girlfriend, never again. No, your family, never again. Don't ever feel like there's ever a moment that you have to be closeted. And we don't even need to like say, come to this event. Don't come to this event. I'm out. The end. I'm out. You show up somewhere, even if it's unexpected. I'll turn to the person and say, this is my beloved metamor, Kim. And if they say, what's that? I will explain to them what that is.
You know, this is really cool hearing this. I'm recently with who I guess isn't a metamor anymore because we're not dating the person that had connected us, but she is so fun. We have such a good time together. And she had texted me that day saying, hey, you know, I haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? How's your broken arm? And my arm is doing much better now. It's pretty much healed up and I can use it. I got to tango with it twice this week. So
wow.
Yeah, it's so much better. I did have to warn one of my partners because they started doing all this really fun, fancy stuff. There's such an advanced lead and there's twisting stuff. And I was like, oh, you know what? How about we do this a little differently? So then he just gave me his thumb to hold on to and then I could twist around that. That was so much better. But it was a fun experiment and, expressing my boundaries in the moment. She had texted saying, hey, I'd love to connect. And I was like, yeah, that'd be really fun. I've got some new dresses that I'm looking at. I'd love to get your opinions on them, kind of girl talk stuff. And it just turned out that I was having one of my friends over that evening. We were going to make some really amazing Peruvian chicken that we had gotten this recipe for that was so good. And she happened to be available that night. So I was like, hey, you want to come and join us? And then one of the new people I'm dating was able to come and join us as well. So we had this really lovely little something. I don't know. I guess don't really care about the labels that much, but
Yeah.
it was fun. It was fun. It was neat to get to introduce the new person that I'm seeing to both of those people and to have some time together and get to know each other a little bit. So yeah, what bliss it is to have metamors that you can really connect with.
Yep. Yeah. And do they become ex-metamors? Do they revert to friend? It's hard to know all the labels.
And to care, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I like using the labels for people that aren't in the polyamory world, because then they kind of look at it and like, oh, so you used to sleep with that person, but you don't anymore, but you still touch, and you do sleep with this person and you touch them too, and you don't touch them anymore when the other person's in the room. And I don't get it. I'm like, I know, just let your head explode and it'll be easier once you just accept that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think I want to look at the partner have-to-haves really quickly.
Yeah, let's talk about partner have-to-haves. One of my favorite things about it is when you get to look and see what thing that you think is a top priority for you conflicts with another thing that you need that is a top priority for you. Because it's really, while it's disheartening to see that two things literally conflict with each other and cancel each other out, and that's why you're having such a hard time, it's also really enlightening. Like, oh, that's why it took me 121 first dates to get to my person, because I had two things on my list that conflict with each other and cancel each other out. And I wasn't willing to go without them. So I'm just going to have to wait it out till I find that 2% of people who can give me both things. So that is one of my very favorite parts, is doing the sorting exercises where you're seeing if things cancel out other things. And I had quite a few things on my list that were very conflicting with things on my list. Did you find a lot of conflicting things?
I don't think I did, but I may not have been looking at what might be conflicting well enough, because in my head, all of this sounds like it should be able to come from one or two or three people.
But that's the thing. I mean, being poly too, like you can't actually that's the great part. Like if you have things that conflict, you're like, okay, cool. Well, this person has one and this other person has the other one. So we're good to go. So that's like an added poly bonus.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, am I just not seeing the conflicts, or are they not actually there because I'm willing to have it from two or three different people?
Yeah.
I did find it interesting that if I had it all my way, our life would look like, I didn't put very much down at the time, but it was like milongas and tango evenings and great tango partners and dancing and doing fun things with fun people. And I'm doing most of that this week already.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
In other words, you're living your best life. Yay.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. Let's see, the attributes, values, and characteristics. This was, I don't remember how many you said it was okay to pick, but I have encouragement, integrity, sincerity, kindness, love, loyalty, passion, playfulness, respect, and humor. So I guess that was 12.
And can you see how much those are you also? Like that is a reflection of who you are. And it's not always the case that what we're looking for is a reflection of who we are. I mean, they're definitely like the list of things we want our partner to be just like us, because it's important to us. We're that way on purpose. We're consciously that way. And then there are the other things that we're going to need, that we need them to be different on purpose because we need the balance, right?
Yeah. And then interestingly, in the deal breakers, there's only 4 of them. Doesn't respect me or my friends or my way of life. hides me from anyone, hides me from his family,
Yep.
not willing to cook or is a bad cook. Those are my deal breakers.
That's pretty great. Now, can they use Home Chef or Blue Apron or one of those like will help you cook cooks, or do they have to be naturally good at putting spices together?
Oh no, it's totally fine if they can provide meals that are Rebecca safe when I need them. I
Yeah.
don't care how they get them.
Very good.
They can figure out how to get that from the grocery store. I don't care, but I doubt it.
You need someone to source delicious food for you from time to time.
Yes, not from time to time, like half the time, like a lot.
Half the time. Okay, there we go. See,
Yeah.
very specific. Very good.
Yeah, what I've learned about myself is, especially this year, is that one, I really have to cook and make pretty much all of my food right now in order to be in good shape.
Mm,
And that's a lot of cooking. And if I
Yep.
have someone else that's willing to do some of that, it'll go so much better. And we can do so many more things together. So, yeah, let's see, what else have I got? If I had it on my way, 5 things I want from my partner. Takes me farther physically than I've ever been before.
Yeah.
Loves to do fun things like acro yoga with me. Loves to teach workshops with me. Loves how much I love collaboration and wants to collaborate with me. And good with money and willing to be good with money for both of us. I am good with money, but I don't like putting very much attention on certain aspects of it. So it'd be nice to have a partner to bounce that stuff off of and know that it's not all falling on my shoulders.
Yep.
Ooh, this was a good one. This one I really had to noodle about. What are the 5 things you need from your partner? Without these 5, you would be upset. You would rather be single and alone than not have these things. So the first one is respect about my work, my life choices, and my friends. I've kind of already talked about that in the deal breakers, but I need to feel really safe, admired, and respected for my life choices. Number 2, there is a fire sparked between us. There has to be a deep, intimate connection with open-hearted communication. Number 3, freedom to have my own space and live wherever I want to, which would also mean that our time together would feel refreshing. So maybe we'll live together, but I'll always have my own getaway. Number 4, true support in managing my health. So that means things about transparency about sex acts and partners and all of that other stuff, and also cooking. Cooking is an important piece of this.
Yeah.
And then the 5th one is great fueling sex. If sex doesn't fuel me on a regular basis with that person, it's just not going to be a good thing. Something I need and I would be upset without. So, let's see.
I really like everything you said. And one of the things that you pointed out in your list is, I think, true for a lot of us that run in this circle, in your circle, right? Which is the need for freedom and autonomy balanced with the need of safety and feeling loved and secure. You know, we were talking earlier about conflicting needs. One cancels the other one out. And usually when we're talking about a masculine person that you're looking for that can create the safety for you if you're feeling that you need safety, that safety from the accountability of the masculine, that's great and all, but depending on the flavor of that person, you might not be able to get safety and freedom in the same human. They're going to try and keep you safe and not have you feel free, or they're going to treat you like a total equal and you can have all the freedom you want, but you don't necessarily feel safe. So that's a very common one. And that was something that I was looking for.
And that was the thing that you thought was a contradictory.
For me, when I was looking for a man, that's exactly what I found to be a contradictory set of traits, because, you know, you either had I'm just going to stereotype like crazy here. You'll have like the big old Texan, going to keep you safe, little Philly. What? Have your own place. What? Go out of town for 3 days without me. Off to Africa for 3 weeks for a mission institution excursion? No. So you have that, like, going to keep you safe or going to let you be free. Go ahead. Run off to Africa. What do I care? It's fine. See you when you get back.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
What are your flavors of feeling safe? And another place to look is you're going to be upset without it. I think you pointed to don't hide me. Don't hide me. Respect who I am, respect my work, and don't hide me. That's going to make me feel safe.
Yeah.
So one of the ways you can tell what makes you feel safe is you're freaked out without it. So freaked out and fear has you not feel safe.
Oh, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Freaked out without it.
Yep. I mean, pretty much all the relationship stuff that gets put into place is all about not being freaked out and in fear. Let's put a ring on it. So there's a ring and an indication so I can have you be mine and I don't have to be afraid that someone else is going to steal you. I mean, there's all kinds of other lovely parts to wrapping up that ceremony and being connected to each other, but that is a piece of it. You are mine. I can feel safe. I can breathe. In monogamy world, we can now tell each other a really sweet lie that no one does it for me but you. You're the only one I see.
Mm.
So you can calm down your internal instincts and feel safe. You've won. You got them. You bagged them. You locked it down. They're yours. Relief. Right? It's a nice lie.
It's funny because every time I hear you say that, I'm like, yes, it is a nice lie, but I know that for so many people it's a lie, so it's not nice anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unless you're asexual or sapiosexual, it's a lie for pretty much everyone's a sexual human where people turn your head. Like, why do you think actors are so beautiful? They're turning our heads.
Yeah.
We're fantasizing about them when we're watching the rom-com.
You said, what is my flavor of safety?
Yeah.
I know that I have a lot more freedom desire than safety desire. And I know that during the pandemic, not having anyone that truly had my back fucking sucked.
Yes.
I know that I want a lot of freedom, but there's somehow, I don't know. I still don't know how to find that balance.
Freedom, not isolation.
Yeah.
Yeah. That had to have been rough.
Thanks. I'm glad you had somebody. Somebody's.
Yeah, and I mean that was, everybody knows that's in the poly world. That was a tricky thing to navigate. Like now you have all these people with all these ideas about safety and what's right and should we bubble and should we? So glad that's over.
Yeah, me too. I hope it stays over. No promises, right?
No. I sound so cynical when I talk about monogamy. I don't mean to sound so cynical when I talk about monogamy.
Yeah, I've felt the same way with a couple of things I said. I was like, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll take that out.
Monogamy is great.
Life for pretty much everybody. No, I do think that monogamy can be freaking awesome. And I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with some friends, and they were talking about how in certain cultures and certain areas of the world, which some of them I've been a part of, that polyamory is more of a default thing, and that the consideration or the attitude is that poly is the more advanced and evolved way of having relationships, and that if you want to be monogamous, it's because you just don't know how to be poly yet. And I think I've run into that, and I understand where it comes from. And on some level, I know that a lot of people that have talked to me over the years and have said, oh, I could never do that. They're saying that because they are unwilling to try and to grow. But I don't think that's the case with everybody. I think monogamy is actually really a beautiful way of having a relationship. And a lot of my former polyamorous partners have kind of moved on and ended up in monogamous relationships where they are so much happier and they're so much better at monogamy than anyone else because they actually know how to have successful relationships now. They've practiced them enough that they're good at the communication and what needs to be said and sharing those things early on enough. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
great. I like that. I mean, yeah, it's all great when you're actually choosing, right? When you're coming from choice and that you've really thought through what's going to work best for you instead of just the default.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised at some of the non-negotiable views and opinions that I came up with. And I realized how many things I do every year that like take up a significant portion of my time. And if whoever I'm seeing is not behind me or fuck yes, go and do this thing, that can be a serious serious thorn in the side of the relationship, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, like going on cruises. If I have it all my way, I go on 3 or 4 weeks a year of cruises with a bunch of friends. And I don't insist that my partners like my friends and want to go on these cruises with me. And it would be so much better if they did, if they were a hell yes for that too and they wanted to join in and meet my crazy happy friends. That would be so cool.
Right?
Yeah. And then, I mean, that's just one thing that I do. And then there's the shamanic stuff, which is a weekend every other month. And there's more of that I'm doing now. So even more than just that. Someone that doesn't have any interest in those things or doesn't have the flexibility to do those things, it'd be much harder to partner with them.
One of the traits that I didn't realize while I was searching for my partner was how important it is to get someone that really not only has your back, but can really empower you, can put their hands on your back and shove you forward into the world and say, yes, this is what you should be doing. Go be you, be big. I'm coming with you, or I'm supporting you while you go do that on your own or with your friends. Like how hugely important it is for someone to be a hell yes to what you're up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I liked how you phrased that, to support you and say, go out and yes, be you, do this thing.
Yeah, be the biggest you could possibly be. Don't, it's one of the things I love so much about Dave. He's like, take your filter off. And it's always trying to filter, always trying to be appropriate, right? He's like, I need you to keep taking your filter off as much as possible. They need you. They don't need filtered you. They need you. And
yeah,
I forget that a lot.
What I love about my closest friends, this one was a good one.
Mm.
They're driven, thoughtful, in tune, cheerful. They see a silver lining, and their happiness is infectious. They have some worldly experience. They're unique, one of a kind. They're family focused or family connected, and happy, intelligent, and making a dent in the world.
Huh. I wonder who that sounds like.
Ha 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 ha. The next question was the characteristics and traits that I have that I hope my chosen loved ones also have. And they are honest, hopeful, healed, open-hearted, willing, brave, expanded, adventurous, spiritual, healthy, strong, self-aware, and enjoys ritual and ceremony.
Lovely.
Yeah. This is really helpful.
Yeah.
All right, so Wendy, what do you do when you fill out your partner have-to-haves and you realize that the people that you're dating don't fit enough of them? What do you do next?
Well, you can add more, right? You can add more to the dating pool if you've got the space for it, and you can add ones with the qualities for which you are looking. You can make requests with the people you are dating to see if they can either step up and into what you need, or if that's just not who they are, you can decide, who's this person going to be in my life? Where do they fit? We don't have to discard them just because they don't have everything that we need. We can make choices around how they're going to, how we're going to play with them going forward. I think one of the most important pieces to look at once you've got the whole thing filled out And this is right. It's not like a 3-step process. There's a lot of little steps to this, right? One biggest thing that's going to move relationships in good ways quickly or bad ways quickly is the what am I dying to provide? What are they dying to receive? What are they dying to provide? Because if there's something in you that you just feel so unfulfilled, this is why you want partnership, because you want to contribute this to your partner, and they're like, nah, I'm not, I'm good. Like that'd be devastating. Like that is a recipe for disaster. So maybe you might be dating someone that there's a quality or two missing that they don't have, but you can get from someone else. And then there's like the bigger piece of they won't let me make a difference for their life in a way that's super important for me. You know, one of the things that I most wanted to provide Dave was, well, I wanted to provide willing, happy, good sex anytime he wanted it. Because I know that most people in the world don't have that at their fingertips, and I wanted to be the source for that.
Oh my God, fuck yes. Me
Right?
too.
It's like, yes. What if I'm just a yes all the time? Yay. So he just didn't run around feeling hungry, right? And so that was one thing I really wanted to provide, and I have for the last 8 years and will continue to provide. And that's nice. But what I also was dying to provide was I'm his partner, so I'm not wanting to be his coach, right? But what I wanted to be was that safe container where we could sit around and he can tell me all the things. He could tell me all about his day and what he's trying to work out at work, what's happening with the teams, and what's happening with the C-suite, and what's going on and what next play needs to make, and what's going on with this one, like, and just let him solve his own problems because he's able to talk it out loud. To be this listening, this uninterrupted listening for him. And, you know, the occasional wisecrack, or if he asks for my opinion, I'll give it. But I just really wanted to be that touchstone for him, that solid container where he could like work it all out. And I didn't know if he'd give me that, but I was just dying to provide it. And so I just kept being that, like being available for that. And now like he really counts on me for that, like a lot. And I love it. It feels like I am in fact fulfilling the purpose, right? The purpose of our partnership. And I mean, there's, you know, a million different things to relationship and things we love about each other, but it's one of my favorite things. And it makes the little things that don't work worth working out because I get to be used up in the way that I really want to be used up in relationship. Yeah.
That is a cool phrase. I get to be used up in the way that I really want to be used up. Yes.
Yeah. Like we want to use our life for something, right? Here we are.
Yeah. Don't use it in obligation. Use it in fuck yeah moments.
Yes. Totally.
Yeah, that made me look under what are the things that I wish to get. What am I dying to provide? A listening ear, an open heart and kind eyes, food, adventure, an adventuring partner, creativity, and hot sex.
Yeah.
And threesomes. Dying to provide great threesomes.
Oh my God. They are so lucky to have you.
I know, right?
My life would be so much easier if I was bi. I really have given it a try.
It's different. It's a whole different world.
Best efforts.
Yeah. I'm good at threesomes too. I love giving good threesomes.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I do it around the birthday time because it's a birthday gift, but we have it down to a science where basically one of us is on the bed filing our nails while the other one we're just taking breaks.
Maybe we should do a whole episode on filing your nails. That's so important. Oh.
Taking breaks during threesomes while you're on the bed.
Yeah. Usually try and get the nails filed before the threesome happens. But
yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, so maybe I need to add a little bit more to these because none of these are super, super clear. I don't have like a really good touchstone for what I'm dying to provide right now. So thank you.
Well, I think another thing that you reminded me of that I love providing, and it's really important to me, and you said it in different words with kind eyes and a listening ear, which is I want to be as transparent as possible with my partners and fully accept them for exactly who they are. They're not going to get in trouble with me for sharing an aspect of who they are or what they think or what they're about. And I think that so many people work on molding themselves into what they think their partner needs them to be. And I just don't want that. Even if part of who they are like doesn't necessarily work for me, I would much rather know that and love them and be fully accepting of, oh well, look, there's a little glitch with us. That's okay. Right? We'll figure a workaround. It's fine. But don't change who you are. That's who you are. And that's a huge gift, I think.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm the same way. I'd rather
Yeah.
know the down and dirty real than the image that you think that I want to see.
Yeah. I don't need the image.
Yeah. Just gets in the way anyway.
It really does. I'm really grateful that we had this opportunity. And now that we're all the way here, Partner Have to Haves is a DIY workshop, and you could just download the audio if you wanted to grab it. Or I do have, if you're visual, I have PowerPoint videos that go with it for different learning styles. And it's a pretty inexpensive product and a way for you to really figure out who you are, what you're about, what you need, what you want to provide, and who your person or your people need to be to keep you in really great shape.
And I really appreciated it. Thanks so much
Yeah.
for putting it out there.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll make sure that there's a link in the show notes. And thank you so much for being here and chatting with me. I always enjoy it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun. Thanks, Rebecca.
I mentioned at the beginning of this episode that I was afraid to finish the worksheet, afraid to find out that what I was doing and who I was with wasn't going to meet my needs in the long run. I know it's silly to be afraid of that because you might as well know earlier rather than later, but it can still be difficult. One of the reasons I was so nervous is I've had a hard time believing that I really can have what I want. And now I have so much experience and evidence that I can. It's usually just a matter of finding a way to believe it. But every time I take a new step forward into something big and different and unusual, it takes me a little while to build up that belief. For example, I mentioned having someone take me home to their family was a big deal for me. It's a big deal for a very important reason. A few years ago, I was seriously dating this really awesome guy who had some family nearby. Things got serious between us, and he started taking me home for Christmas and Thanksgiving and other holidays. But he didn't want his family to know about my work as a courtesan, which I understand. I know that people aren't always kind and charitable to men who are dating women who date lots of other men, especially if she gets paid for it. All kinds of cruel assumptions are made about them. Of course, I don't want to put anyone through that unnecessarily. Though, to be honest, people that know me well usually realize at some point sooner or later that those assumptions are absolutely dumb. I get paid to go on dates and to have orgasms. So whenever I choose to spend my personal time on a date with somebody, you better believe that someone is pretty fan-fucking-tastic. So I didn't mention my work to his family. I stuck to safe topics on the holidays. But as the years went by, I had less and less to talk about with his family. More of my life and my accomplishments centered around my work, my success, and the freedom that my work gave me. And he continued to ask me to keep my work a secret, not realizing, I'm sure, the effect it was having on me. It turns out it's no fun to celebrate life with those you love when you have to be secretive about what you're celebrating. I stopped wanting to attend family holidays, and I started staying home to catch up on emails and big computer projects instead. My dad lived many states away at the time with poor internet and cell phone connection, so getting some good time with him usually entailed an airline ticket or a rental car, something I couldn't arrange all that often. One Thanksgiving, the dam broke. I realized I had worked through so many holidays in the last couple of years that I hadn't really realized what month it was anymore. And I had missed everything about the season that I really loved. Just because we understand why somebody is doing what they're doing doesn't mean we have to be willing to stand by and allow it to happen forevermore.
Thank you for listening to Pleasure Central Radio, hosted by Rebecca Beltran. The co-host for this episode is Sean. The guest today was Wendy Newman. Wendy has been on the show many times in the last few years. If you'd like to hear all the episodes with Wendy, including the one about the full moon partnership ritual, check out the playlist on pleasurecentralradio.com or search your podcast player for all episodes with the guest Wendy Newman. Technical production by me, Katerina, with advice from our podcast consultant, Sandy Waters. Rebecca gets significant creative feedback from her beta listener group. For this episode, special thanks goes to Chet, Sarah, Josh, and Bob. And to anyone else we might have missed, you're loved. Rebecca looks forward to your company on the next episode. Ciao.